Alright, good evening or good afternoon everyone. Welcome to my third live stream on the Poco Traveler channel. Today is a combo travel city walk of Berea, but also celebrating the Cleveland Browns being in the postseason. You can see I'm here on Lou Groza Boulevard and the Berea headquarters, where I think practice just wrapped up for the day. Over there would be the practice field. Can't see it too well. The big building there is the inside field house. But we're just going to do a little walk around the neighborhood. And then if anyone happens to join the chat, feel free to ask any questions and I'll try to get to them. So a little bit of backstory. I've come out here every year for training camp at least once, usually 1 to 2 times a year for training camp for the past probably 7 or 8 years. This was the first year I didn't go, obviously, because of the pandemic situation. There was no training camp. So I missed coming out here, and I was thinking about coming out here last week leading up to the Steelers playoff game, but it was a bit chilly and some bad weather on a few of those days. But today, Thursday, January 14th, it's a very nice January weather day, about 45 degrees, a little windy, but feels great. I'm able to operate right now without any gloves on. And there's the Cleveland Browns headquarters. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So I don't know what the procedures are this year because of the pandemic, if there's a different entrance for media, but in the past that's where media and pretty much all the players and stuff would enter the building along with the parking lot you see here. So I'm sure some of these cars are probably for the players. During training camp time, they have visitor parking over there, so other staff could go over there on that side of the street. I've only been to inside Berea once. That was about, should have looked up the year before I got here, but that was about, I want to say 5-6 years ago. There was a writer for the Browns. His name was Kevin Jones. He was a staff member / writer for the website, and I believe he did some radio work as well. And he was pretty close-knit with Dogs by Nature and the blogging community and Browns fans, so he invited our website to come tour the Berea facility. So I got to go in. I know it was me, John Stinchcomb, Josh Finney, and a few former staff members, Zach Miller, Joe Ginley, and Tim, forgetting his last name. I think that was the group that was there. I was a lot more shy and reserved back then, so I was more so a quiet observer while the rest of the group chatted with Kevin and company. But it was cool. We got to meet Nathan Zagura. Got to sit in the cafeteria and experience the lunch that the players would have had. But also another funny story back then too. So Mike Krupka, who does some film breakdown for our site, he used to do it more often, but he still does it occasionally. He lives in Hawaii, and he heard about the opportunity, and he actually, I don't know if he happened to be in town or if he flew in specifically for that reason, but he came up and actually got to go into the facility like a few days before us, and it was after we had beaten someone. So he got to go inside like the press room and get a more detailed tour of the facility. When the rest of us ended up coming, the Browns had just lost a game, like, I don't know if it was to the Jaguars or someone else. It was a game that we were supposed to win. So Kevin warned us when we came in. He said, just to let you guys know, it's kind of not the best vibes and mood around here right now, so he he told us he wasn't going to be able to show us as much as he would have liked to, because, you know, people are obviously in a bad mood after you lose a game. I did hear a horn there. I don't want to show it too much. You can't really see anything. I don't want people to think I'm spying, but you can see there are practice is still going on a little bit. I did see some players on the field there, but if anyone's watching this from the Browns, trust me, I'm not trying to provide any insight for the Kansas City Chiefs. If anyone's watching and would like to leave a comment, so I haven't seen any comments come in so far. I'm pretty sure I enabled them on the stream. Feel free to leave a comment, and if I see it, I'll try to address your question. Yeah. See, I've always wondered, people who live in these houses, if they can see or discern anything of practice. Because that is the practice field fence back there, so they're, like, I can see through the fence. So I'm telling you right now, if I lived in one of these houses, I could watch the entire Browns practice. Even though it's concealed to an extent, I just looked to my left and I could see every single player out there. Cross away from this for a second. Yeah, I mean, you can see what I mean? I could see that tractor going by. So if you lived in one of those places, you could definitely catch practice. So besides showing the front of the Berea headquarters, I figured I would do a walk down a couple of the streets here to show you what my experience would be like on my way to, as if I was attending a training camp session. You know what, they may have reduced, I don't know, they may have reduced the thickness of the netting or something. I swear it was not that visible in the past. It used to be much darker, like I could literally see everything, and that's not what I was expecting. I see I have 6 viewers right now. Still haven't seen any comments, so I apologize if you guys are leaving comments. I can't, if you are, I can't see them right now. I forgot what street this is called that I'm walking on right now. Browns pulled off the upset, you want to call it an upset, against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past Sunday. First time in 18 years we've been to the playoffs. The first season that I started watching the Browns for like the entire season was when I was 13 years old, so that was back in that 2002 season when we made the playoffs in beginning of 2013. So 18 years later, it's been such a long time, and to not only that, but to taste playoff victory in the manner that we did it over the Pittsburgh Steelers. There we go. We've got I was wondering if we'd see some Browns decorations on some of these houses. We got a couple of flags over there. Yeah, the way we did it against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that first quarter, I mean, that's something I think most fans will never forget. And it's even more sweeter when you see how Steelers players are feeling, you know, still making comments afterward. You can tell it just like got under their skin. This is going to be the type of thing that helps renew that rivalry. This is always a nice little park that I see on my walk to training camp, R.B. Scott Park. You know, all the hoops in Cleveland seem like they're down still. Maybe there's some isolated hoops that are still up, but there's a basketball net that's still up, and a rim that's still up. So if someone wants to play shoot a few hoops, they can. So every year when I come to Berea, I usually go down this road walking wise, and there's usually a lot of fans walking with you. My plan right now is to take you through that walk and go up to what would be the entrance to the practice field, as if I was going to training camp. It'll be blocked off now, but we'll just go through that walk and see how it looks right now. So we're approaching 3rd Avenue here. Now I get to see the street we were on was called Pearl Street. So not Pearl Road, but Pearl Street. There, that truck that just passed us had a Browns logo on it. Let me see, let me flip this around, because I haven't shown yet that I am representing the Browns too with my Cleveland Browns hat. Flip this back. Oops, that zoomed it in. There we go. So if you haven't been to training camp before, this is kind of the spot when you start seeing a lot of the vendors and people selling parking in their driveways. For example, you see those, a lot of these driveways may have the rocks in them. People will sell parking spaces so people don't have to walk all the way from those actually not that visitors lot I showed at the beginning, but there's other lots that are further away from here for the fans. So if people want an up close spot, for example, right there, that person may sell like 2 or 3 parking spaces for a premium, and then you'll see various tables lined up, right here, selling drinks, merchandise, necklaces, all Browns themed things. So I'm sure that's had to suck a little bit for those people to have that type of nice supplemental income all these years, and then all of a sudden the pandemic, no fans allowed in training camp this year. Okay, so this is where there is a lot more vendors. Like every single grass yard would have it. You can see the street here has Cleveland Browns on it. This would have been freshly painted had it not been for the pandemic. I see 2 other people down there. I'm curious if they're fans or employees. I gotta admit, I definitely know 100% now the fencing is like basically see-through right now, because it's usually a very dark green or a dark brown and orange. Like you can literally, I can see all the players right now. I gotta say, not that I'm chicken, but I get a little hesitant. I don't want someone thinking I'm trying to record practice or something, so maybe I won't go all the way up there. I'll just stay. Yeah, those look like they were 2 fans taking a quick peek of practice. Yeah, so maybe I'll just stop at this driveway here. That pretty much gives you a type of view. Yep, go Browns. Thanks. Zoom in here. So that was the banner for this year's. Every year they have a different banner or theme on the Berea headquarters building. This year it says team. Can't see what it says underneath that. I guess, yeah, just Cleveland Browns. I think it says established in the year. Yeah, so every year we'd go in training camp. Those gates would open and they would have some very basic security lines there. The line, whenever I would get here, wouldn't be too long. I mean, I would walk up. You may wait in line for 2 or 3 minutes. They check if you had a bag. They would check your bag, and then you would just go right in. Training camp was always pretty crowded, hard to get a seat. But there's 3 or 4 practice fields, depending on how they split it up. There used to be 4, and then now I think they converted it to 3 practice fields. When I first started coming, like 7 or 8 years ago, they had very limited bleacher seating, so you couldn't see hardly, or you couldn't sit down unless you got here really early. So if it was some of those 90-degree scorching days in August, it was miserable. Like, I'd have bad sunburns, and to be honest, training camp practices aren't very exciting typically. So by the end of the 2.5 hours, like, yeah, I was glad I came out for my annual trip, but I also said to myself, man, I didn't see a damn thing. You know, that was really exciting. I just stood there in the hot sun for 2.5 hours. Thankfully, I think 3 or 4 years ago, they installed huge bleachers. That was something I had harped on over the years. I don't know if I doubt they took my specific suggestion, but whoever implemented that, it was a great idea. So it increased the amount of seating for fans, and chopping it down from 4 fields to 3 fields also helped because it gave more visibility no matter where you sat. But yeah, they're still going out there. I believe practice was supposed to start at 1 o'clock p.m. today. So right now, let's see what time it is. 2:46 p.m. So the bulk of practice is probably over by now. Practice usually lasts about 90 minutes, but today would have been the first practice, I think, that Kevin Stefanski was officially back for. Oh, look, a little baby blue jay just went on that tree up there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, today would have been the first practice that Kevin Stefanski was back for from COVID-19. Yesterday, Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson, the 2 cornerbacks, returned. I'm not sure if they practiced or not, but they, I'm sure, would have practiced today if they didn't yesterday. I saw that Kadero Hodge, the wide receiver, was activated from the COVID list today, so if I'm not mistaken, the only one still on the list is Joel Bitonio, but I wouldn't worry about that. Everything I'm assuming is that he'll be probably activated tomorrow, if he's not already. Maybe I missed that headline. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is walk a little bit to a different street. There's a Browns water tower. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way up to it, but I'll at least get in position to zoom into it. It's I believe it's a water tower. It has the Cleveland Browns logo on top of it. So if we're thinking about this Sunday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs, let's try to think optimistically, I guess. I mean, obviously they're defending Super Bowl champions. It does sound crazy to just say, oh yeah, Browns are going to win. But my optimistic mentality likes to think, hey, the Browns are prepared. If we're going to win, it's going to be a shootout game. Now, think about this. We just had 5 turnovers against the Steelers, and we still gave up over like 550 yards of offense and almost 40 points. The Chiefs have the top offense in the NFL. They got Pat Mahomes, all their weapons. It seems highly unlikely that we're just going to shut them down. And factors that could come into play is that Mahomes has not played in like, 2.5 weeks almost, or 2.5 games. He sat out last week when the Chiefs had the bye. He didn't play the Week 17 game against the Chargers, and then I think the week before that, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't play the whole game. He only played maybe half the game. So that could always be a factor. There could be some rustiness, but hey, if we've all seen Mahomes play, he's pretty much impossible to stop him, especially when you think about our type of defense. Although getting Denzel Ward back and pretty much the rest of our defense minus Olivier Vernon, can't complain about personnel this week. Sometimes after Browns practice, I'll go to this little Pickwick food mart. Actually, every year I do. And I usually grab either an ice cream bar or a snack like a bag of pretzels. I believe there's usually, when training camp's going on, this is one of the parking lots that gets used. I don't know if it's done by the Browns or if it's done by the, it says City of Berea Department of Recreation. But yeah, back to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Browns have been in several type of shootout games this year. If you think about the Cowboys, the Colts, the Titans, and the Steelers game last week. So this is, if it is going to be a shootout type of game, that's something where the Browns, even if they give up a lot of points, they could pull off the upset. Kansas City's run defense is maybe average at best. And the Browns running game, we saw them last week against even though they struggled, a pretty decent Steelers, which should be a pretty decent Steelers defense. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt were just shredding them easily. I know it's good to have a winner's mentality, but I also feel like, hey, last week's game against the Steelers, the way it happened was just such a glorious moment for Cleveland fans that win or lose, this coming Sunday, I'll be proud of whatever the Browns had accomplished this season and are building on heading into next season. Unlike a team like the Steelers, where you're here, they may have to do a complete teardown with their cap situation. I gotta check who are free agents on the Browns, but I know we have our whole offensive line locked up. Myles Garrett's locked up. We still have quite a bit of cap space compared to most teams, so some of those weaknesses on defense, we're in position to rebuild those spots, whether it be in free agency or the draft. And then Baker just playing out of his mind right now. Usually in August, September, when training camp's going on, these poles here will have Cleveland Browns banners or flags on them promoting the upcoming season. So it seems a little unusual now to see them all bare and empty. You can see that's the street I came on initially, and I went that way. So the practice field, for example, is back behind that house. So that's perspective of where we're at right now. The water tower, hope I can get a glimpse of it without walking too far. It's somewhere down that direction. Hoping once I get up at the top of this hill that we'll be able to see it better. Lou Groza Boulevard. Got the nice Browns themed on it, brown and orange sign with the Browns logo. And this is Front Street, the street that I was just walking on, which leads up over that bridge into further into or back into Berea. I know there's some fast food places and small businesses over there. And then if you went further that way, I mean, it's a far walking distance from here, but if you were in a car, you're probably like 5 minutes away from the Cleveland Hopkins Airport. So if you've never been to training camp, it's very close to the airport. So for example, when the Browns had a Saturday walkthrough last week against the Steelers, and then we're gonna go catch a flight to Pittsburgh, which I read online, I think it was only like a 26-minute flight. I'm pretty sure they probably just ran right over to Hopkins and then took it from there. This is looks like a restaurant called the Berea Depot. I see this all the time. It looks pretty cool. Shaped like a train station. I'm sure it was a former train station. You can see the train tracks going underneath the bridge there. Not sure what they serve inside. But hey, if fall is better with the pandemic next season and everyone's excited about the Browns, we may see a record turnout at training camp if protocols are permitting that. So it might be nice to pop into one of these food places after practice is over. Alright, we're starting to get toward the water tower I wanted to see. You can see it here, but I want to get a better shot. Maybe I will walk closer up to it. I don't know, it's so big. It looks like it's only like a block away, but it's probably further than that. As long as I can get a clear shot without this building in the way, that'll be good enough. See more of the train tracks over there, and this is the skinny parking lot for that. Well, I guess it could be either for that restaurant. I'm pretty sure it's meant for that restaurant, but it could be for some of these industrial businesses on the left side of the street here. There we go. Getting a better shot now. And then I'll zoom in. I know the sun is kind of right over it. Yeah, so if you're driving through Berea, no matter what time of the season it is, it's always nice to see that water tower or whatever tower it is. I try to shield the sun for a bit here with my hand. The sun is right over it, that's why it looks dark right now. I can't really shield it that well. But I think it actually looks better zoomed out. Alright, so I'm going to retrace back to where I was and then go in front of the Berea headquarters again, and then probably end the live stream there. Fingers crossed that there are no more COVID situations regarding the Browns. When you think about it, they started, well, the main part of it started the day before the Jets game in week 16. Although I think it was, I'm not sure if BJ Goodson's diagnosis came in that day or if that came in like Friday, the day before. But Saturday, when we found out the receivers had to be taken out of the game because they were close contacts, and then we lost that game, and then throughout the next 2 to 3 weeks, like every single day, it was a stressful waiting game. Like who's coming down with it now? Who's out for Sunday? Is it going to be a key player? Is it going to be a starter? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? You know, you hate to say it, but a lot of times when you see those things earlier in the season and then you hear it's just like, oh, it's a practice squad player and there's no close contacts, and you're like, oh, that's you know, feel bad for the person who got it and hope they're okay, but thankfully it doesn't affect the team's chances of winning. Sorry, oh, I can actually capture the train. I was saying, what is that loud noise coming? So yeah, if you're in trains, you get to eat at this train station looking thing and enjoy the train going by. So yeah, like I was saying about the COVID situation, then it started hitting not only the high impact players, it was hitting the depth players. It was like everyone was at risk. You didn't know who was going to be next. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, gets it. The top offensive lineman, Joel Bitonio, no practices or very little practices. Even when they did practice on that Friday before the Steelers game, I think I read that they broke it down into 3 different groups so that there were as few players together as possible. So if I had to guess, the starters were probably together in one group, and then the backups and another group of backups in a different group. So that's why the story of that third offensive lineman that we had at left guard, Blake Hance, that's why he hadn't met Baker Mayfield until the locker room before Sunday's Steelers game, because yes, Blake Hance was here. He was signed like a week earlier, but the team hadn't practiced at all. And then when they did practice Friday, I'm sure Blake was in one of those 3 groups that was not with Baker Mayfield, so they didn't see each other. So hey, right before the game, Baker knows he needs to go up to him and say, hey, my name's Baker Mayfield. If you happen to get in because of an injury to Michael Dunn today, You're gonna be my guy I'm counting on blocking you. I'm sure he didn't phrase it like that, but probably just a quick introduction. And that story went viral. And at least to me, it seemed like the Browns were the talk of the first round of the playoffs. Got a massive TV rating in the Cleveland market too. I think something crazy like 75% of households had the Browns game on their television. I don't know if that's the Cleveland number or the Northeast Ohio number. I thought I read somewhere else that game, one of the NBA Finals games, maybe it's Game 7 when the Cavs beat the Warriors, but that was like an 87% share, meaning 87% of households were watching that game. So Browns were pretty close in magnitude to that. You can see a couple cars pulling out. Those could be players, could be coaches, could be staff members, could be media members. Although I'm not positive with the stricter COVID protocols right now, if media is really attending practice right now. Truth be, I mean, yeah, because even the Zoom meetings, they're not being conducted in the room, so media might not even be here at this point. It's probably counterproductive for them to be here too, because what are they going to do? They're only allowed to see, during normal circumstances, like 15 to 20 minutes of practice. It's not even practice, it's like the players stretching. So with that and the social distancing, maybe the media hasn't been here throughout the season. Yeah, that's the Berea headquarters again. Made a full square. Sorry, my camera's getting a little crooked there. Oh, here's a fancy looking car. I wonder what player that is. Oh, it's too tinted. Come on, that's too fancy of a car for that to be a for that to be a coach or a staff member. That's got to be one of the players, right? All right, so let me flip this back around. So I want to thank you guys again for tuning in, or if you're rewatching this at a later time. Hope you enjoyed this live stream. If you liked it, feel free to leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, and also follow Dogs by Nature. We have a Twitter and Facebook, and most importantly our website, where me and our staff members put out a lot of great content to help preview the games. I started Dogs by Nature back in February 2006. So that's what I kept saying last week, that all those years, I'm one of the longest reigning NFL bloggers at the SB Nation network. I think Dave Halperin, who runs the Dallas Cowboys blog called Blogging the Boys, I think he was here longer than me, but other than him, and that was only by like a few months or something. Other than him, I was the longest reigning blogger, and yet I didn't have a single playoff game to blog for the entire time. Last week was the very first one I got the pleasure of blogging for. So usually when I'm blogging, I'm like watching the game, and then after a key play happens, I quickly type on the computer to either post something to Twitter, or I'm like pre-writing the post-game thread ahead of time as the game's going on, so that right when the final whistle blows, it's ready to be posted. But I still get to enjoy the game because I quickly type or embed a highlight, and then after that turn back and see the next play. I don't blog every single play. It's just usually if there's a scoring play or a momentum changing play or a key run that my attention is diverted for a second or two. But yeah, it's been a blast, and hoping for the best this Sunday for the Browns. And once again, thank you all for tuning in, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.